Yo, welcome Flyffers. So we finally have the early version of the patch notes of the upcoming expansion that is going to be released on the 14th of March. We don't know the time yet. As soon as I know the time, I will keep you guys updated. And in this video, we will go over all the new changes that are already being announced. Some of them are not in too much detail, but I will try to give as much value so you know like what to expect and what to do in the first hours or days and weeks of the expansion, and you don't like waste your time or your dungeon entries or your money on stuff that may not be as valuable. So yeah, you can expect this video to be a bit longer, but I would stay all the way till the end because there's so much to talk about. There's 34 pages, so be patient and get all the value now. So first up are the new dungeons. We've already talked about it a little. In total, there is 5 new dungeons, and they added a dungeon quest system, so you cannot just rush through the dungeons, ignore all the trash mobs, and just go and kill the end boss. So in the dungeons, you will have to do little quests, step by step, and then like a mid boss will spawn, end boss will spawn, stuff like this. And this way you cannot skip the content. You're supposed to play it. So I personally think this is really good because it actually keeps you updated and it's not as boring. And depending on the difficulty of a dungeon, it may also require some teamwork to actually complete everything in a decent amount of time. Now, I've already said it, difficulties. Yes, that's actually now a thing. So you can choose between a normal run, a medium run, a hard run, an extra hard run, and nightmare runs. If we are going a bit down, I know it's not in order, but here's a good graph that shows you which difficulties are available for what kind of dungeons. So that means if you're reading this chart, if you're 140, you're able to enter all dungeons if you select the nightmare difficulty. And it's important to note that the monsters in the dungeons have no level. So they are based on the difficult, like the monsters, stats, HP, damage and stuff is based on the difficulty that you choose. This is important to know. And let's say you're 120, means you can't do Storm Peak yet, but you can do all of those. So yeah, this is fairly easy to read, I guess. And now you're probably asking, what are the drops? Why should you even run those dungeons? There's 2 things. There's weapon piercing cards and cages. And then they also have a mixed between daily entries and free entries that determine how often you can run those dungeons a day. So the dungeons have a cooldown of 1 hour, which means in theory, you could do 24 runs of each dungeon if you're able to do them in the correct time. So like if you can kill Storm Peak in less than 1 hour, you can do 24 runs. If you can do it in less than 30 minutes, you can switch, for example, between Guardian Sanctuary and Storm Peak, and then you could get in 48 runs a day, like in theory. But this system, so it's not that easy to farm, is blocked by daily entrances. So everyone has 2 free entries per character, and if you have purchased the extended battle pass, you get 1 more. But after this, you're not locked to like only having 3 runs a day. You can then use the new dungeon coins to actually buy more runs, or you can also go into the cash shop and buy new runs with F coins. I personally think this buying entries via F coins or Penya is not a good idea, because we have seen it in games like Diablo Immortal, where you could buy runs basically, and it turned out to be a huge pay-to-win mess, and people that spent got like their gear so much faster than others that there was a huge imbalance in between cashers and casuals. So I hope there is some limits to it, but yeah, we will have to see because this information is currently not here. About the dungeons, we already had a video where we covered the reactions to all the previews, so we're not going into too much depth here. The dungeon coins that you can buy with Penier also serve a second purpose. That means when you enter a dungeon, you're able to buy curses. Well, it doesn't sound too great, right? Buying a curse, but the curse always has a negative effect on you and a positive effect. Which means if you're buying, for example, let's say you really want to farm, you want to grind items, and you're buying Phantom Pain. That means all monsters strike you twice instead of once, but your drop rate is also increased. I will not go into too much detail on those curses because we don't have the exact information yet. As soon as we know the exact data, so like how high is the increases, how high is the damage output if you trigger those curses, I will make a separate video that explains the best curses for your bug, because we will have to calculate if the drop rates are actually worth it or not, and there will be a separate guide just on curses, which ones to buy and which ones not to buy. So if you're not subscribed yet, I would recommend subscribing right now so you don't miss those really important videos and don't waste your money. Then one of the reasons to farm those new dungeons is actually pet cages. So many people have complained about raised pets being so expensive that it's only for like crazy cashers that are able to get maxed pets. And this was true. It was crazy expensive. But now they actually came up with a decent solution to provide free-to-play players with pets to rerolling. It works the way we can see right here in this table that the higher dungeon you are killing, the better key you are getting. So those keys are needed to open those cages. There's always 2 cages in the end of in the dungeon. One is in the middle and one is in the end. The one in the middle has a 50% chance to get a pet, and the one in the end a 25% chance. So let's say, for an example, we are running Stormpeak. This means we are getting an S pet, but we are only getting the S pet on the last cage. So don't make the mistake on using the cage key high on a middle cage in Stormpeak. Only use it on the last cage. And I recommend going cage key high only for S pets and not for A pets. And it's probably even better to go for S pets, sell S pets, and then buy A pets from it. Because like it's not the exact values, but it's easier to calculate. Let's say an S pet has an average value of 550 million, while an A pet has an average value of 250 million. And the S pet has 25% chance and the A pet 50% chance. So the chance to receive an A pet is twice as high, which means 250 times is 500. So even with the 25% chance, you will still make 50 million extra if you're only going for S pets. And the other thing is, if you're only going for trying to farm cage keys, you can farm the cage keys for S pets in the lower dungeon that you might be able to clear quicker, use less power-ups on, and then use the cage key high in the Stormpeak dungeon to get an S key. So this is something that may be really farm effective, but we will also cover cage keys as soon as we have the update released in a separate guide. And then we will also take a look at how to efficiently upgrade your pet based on which runs should you invest, because you only have that amount of limited times of runs, right? So we will take a look on how high the drop rate of those keys is in general, and then check out which dungeon gives you the best return of your time. Then there's also new quest lines that are going to be added. It's 60 new quests. They will be able to find in the Flyff wiki as soon as the API updates. And if the update is here, we will take a look at the 61 new quests. For newcomers, I assume all of those quests are valuable. For people that are already max level, we will have to look at the quests if they actually provide valuable items, because they're saying they're providing some some boxes where you can choose from, like those select boxes right here. And in the Asria quests, we had, for example, like upgrade scrolls in there. So if there's quests that are worth doing, I will make a list of all the quests that are worth doing for high level players that are maxed, and a quest line for all the ones that can use those quests to level up way faster. So I assume that this update will bring a new best level guide and new strategies to leveling overall, because there's also new areas now and stuff like this. So there might be a new leveling guide upcoming. Then they've also added something that's called rankings for dungeons. They have been really spare here with the informations, the way it is on private servers. Those dungeons rankings, they reset every week, and the fastest person, if it's a solo run, or like guild, if it's for example Clockworks, or a party, if it's like Red Medio, the fastest group or person gets a reward. Here, they are not talking about rewards yet, so I don't know if there is even a reward, but we can see that they have a reset function. So like there's no reason to reset a ranking if there's no rewards, so I assume they've just not mentioned the rewards yet, and there are some rewards. I personally hope that they are not purely cosmetic, but also not overpowered, so that people like won once can keep winning out of one win. It needs to be balanced, but also not purely cosmetic, because it will not attract a lot of players doing cosmetic only playtime, investing those playtimes. Those amount of players looked at the whole community is fairly limited. Then probably the most awaited system, or also most feared system, is the new weapon piercing. We will see how it actually turns out, because on the first look, the probabilities to actually hit is fairly high, but we are having some more information later down in the document that may relevant this information again. So yeah, on the first look, it looks really cheap. Maybe they're adding a high penny cost to it and keep those values, or those values are not like real values, and they are based on the new pity system, which means, like, for example, something like this right here would not be 50% on the first try. You would have to do like a certain amount of tries first to actually reach your 50%. So yeah, we will have to see how this actually works out. There's not enough information yet to talk about it in detail. Now we are here having a overview of the effects of the different cards, and here we are having some interesting cards and some cards that probably are completely useless. So based on the first look, electric cards and wind cards seem kinda useless. The reason why wind cards are useless is not because the stats are good, it's because the lava cards are going to be way better DPS. And electric cards serve no purpose, because you can already get like max block rate on an AoE plate and stuff like this. And right here on a lava card, you're having crit damage that scales way better than, like, for example, 6 stacks on a ranger, and you have block penetration on well. So I think this card right here is totally designed the wrong way, because like you're either going with utility or you're going with damage. You need to make the player choose what he wants. Here he gets the damage and the utility both in once. So like there's no character preparation, no strategy behind it. No, I have to forfeit for something, but I get a different benefit. You just get all the benefit on once. And just this single card could make Ranger really, really strong in the upcoming patch. So yeah, it's pretty interesting choice to do this, and I am pretty sure they have not adjusted the balance in PvP and PvE accordingly to look out for all those changes. Like I am 200 or even 1000% sure that the balance after this expansion hits is way worse than it is at the moment. We will take a look at some more information that prove this point later on. Then I would also make a guide on which class is the best off with using which kind of cards. So, like for example, a build poster, when he wants to go ASOL, should he use fire cards or should he use skill damage cards, right? What should he use to boost his ASOL the most? All those informations will be covered. I don't want to do too much theory crafting here. Like we can just wait a couple of days and then we have exact information instead of like feeding false informations based on some calculations and formulas. The PK rework in general sounds pretty good, so you can look at it that way. You no longer drop items if you get killed in the PK channel. The PK channel instead gives you PK ships if you kill monsters or if you kill someone else that has PK ships in his inventory, then you're getting half of his ships. And those PK ships you can use to buy tickets, for example a Kerberos ticket, and if you're using this ticket you will get an additional 10% extra experience. And this is where I think they failed with the system. So in general the idea is good, right? There's not too many options to abuse this besides bot using, and like having bots go around killing low monsters to get PK ships and then just kill those bots to receive like huge amounts on your main character. I'm pretty sure people are going to do this, but as long as the reward is that bad as it is right here, yeah, like the 10% extra experience, it's okay for people that are leveling, but they completely forgot about the endgame again. Like all of those updates feels like they forgot about endgame players at many points. And well, the truth is most of the people that are high level are the ones that are paying for the game, that are the ones that are funding the game, and they provided more content for the casual players than they actually provided for the endgame players. So that was like strategically as a publisher probably a pretty dumb decision. Now let's take a look at the secret room and the Forsaken Tower. The secret room is for up to 40 members. We've already seen a stream where secret room was pretty underwhelming, especially after like an almost 6 months development time. The design was exactly the same. We can see here that the end boss Lucifer is the same, the monsters were the same. All they did was like adjusting some of their health values, like that's it. I don't know, stuff like this can be done in a day. Increasing member mount, okay, great. The preparation time inside is only supposed to be 1 minute, which means you can not even use any strategy to divide yourself in the room to have like faster clear times. So they even leveled strategy, lowered strategy possibility and different ideas to clear the secret room. And then on top, they are having rewards similar to Kerberos with 10% experience modifier, where like I currently see no benefit in doing the secret room. Like, why should you invest full prems, 40 people to run a room to then get 10% experience modifier? So if there's not any other great rewards that are not like fashion or 10% experience, I'm pretty sure this system is going to die out fairly fast because it's not worth the investment for the return you're getting. So, and this was something that they could have put such a huge benefit for the PvE community. The PvE community is so much higher than PvP, and yeah, there's just, I don't know, like why did they not add like a CS set? For example, we have 5% speed, right, on 2 parts. Why not add like a CS set that gets 2% PvE per part, something like this. That is actually worth farming, and you're dropping some secret room coins so you can save up for it, similar to red chips and stuff like this. So, like, I don't know. This system here looks like they have put zero thought into it and zero effort. Really, really disappointed on this one. Then we are having the Forsaken Tower, and again, we are having a system that is giving new ways to earn experience, but is completely not accounting for high-level players. So there's new daily quests, which I think is good. Daily quests bring people back to the game, keep them interested, instead of like, oh no, I'm more interested in another game because there's not enough content, and then they will leave slowly and only return once, and then at some point they're gone all the way. So daily quests are a good idea, but the execution again seems pretty poorly. Those daily quests should be somewhat scaling with your level. If you're already max level, the experience should be exchanged instantly for a different reward. So really short term, really thought through, really short term, and not providing a multi-value. Then next up we are having the master quests, where in the volcano, right here, at the entrance of the volcano right here, you can reduce your experience by 50% and your drop rate. So basically everything you do, you only get half the value of it. And then you can reset your level, for example, to level 60, then gain 10 levels again until you're level 70. And your rewards will be something like this, like those badges next to your name, as you can see right here on the screenshot. It's purely cosmetic. You can still use your old equipment and stuff, it's fine, but like it's purely cosmetic. Like, why would you invest so much time into getting one of those badges instead of like farming with a 100% drop rate instead of only 50% drop rate? I don't know. Like, if they would have at least kept the drop rate the same. Like, every time you invest in this system means the time you spend in the game is worth only half as much. I don't know, like, your gear needs to be fully maxed to actually touch the system, and you need to reboard the hell to actually just level again. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's, again, like, the rewards are not worth farming for. Then next up is the multistat pages. This feature was already asked in the beta, and I think it's much needed, especially for casual players that are not able to afford restats, to reset multiple times as they level and stuff like this, and they want to do different things. They may be leveling, clearing a dungeon solo and stuff like this, and they need different builds for it. So it's really good that they added this feature, so you can have 2 stat pages, which are separate. You can switch them in a 15-minute cooldown, which is more than fair, but they failed at one part. They are making it a battle pass feature. Why? I have no problem that it is a battle pass feature, but the main issue and the main reason we need this feature is that casuals that cannot afford restats can use it. And those people are usually not donators. They are not cashing. And this battle pass is a non-tradable item. So if you're hiding this multi-stat page behind an extended battle pass, then the battle pass needs to be a tradable item so people can actually buy the battle pass from other people and use this feature. So, like, the feature really good, the execution again extremely poorly and not thought through. Now we are talking about the probably most controversial added system, where they are trying to sell you that this system is a benefit for the players, while based on the rates and some calculations we have done and some scripts that were run in Python, we already have a slight idea that this system, if those values are correct, is going to be on average a higher amount of upgrade attempts for the players and not a lower one. So let me explain. If you are now upgrading items, you will start at a lower percentage. So if you usually had a 2% success chance to upgrade an item, you will now begin at 0.062%. And you will need a certain amount of tries to actually reach the 2%. Right here, it's not that bad, right? It's only 4 tries. But if you're looking at higher cost upgrades, so for example, jewelry from 19 to 20, based on this ratio, you would need 200 tries to actually get back to your old 0.1% probability chance. And while you're doing those tries, the success chance is still fairly low, and it's not a lot of more scrolls that you need on average, but it is like 5-ish% of more average tries that you need to get it. But on the other hand, to be fair to the system, they reduce the standard deviation. So like the amount of people that are extremely unlucky and like they waste on, like, let's keep the example of the jewelry, 19 to 20. So there's people, on average, you would need 1,000 tries in the old system. Then there's people that do 2,000 tries, right? And you don't want those players, you don't want this for the players, because like those are the whales, right? And you want to keep them as a publisher. So this system is basically designed to cut down the chance and making whales upset. But on the other side, it is also reducing the chance of people getting lucky. The same way as it's reducing the chance of people getting unlucky. So, like I already said it, they're trying to sell you this system as it's really good for the players, while they actually managed to serve only Gala's purposes. So the average try number is a bit higher. It's not a lot higher, but it is a bit higher. And which means they are selling more scrolls for the same upgrades. And the whales are going to be less likely to quit due to a really unlucky streak. And they also remove the people that are like bypassing a lot of invest into F coins by being really lucky. So they removed this from the table as well. So yeah, really, really controversial. And there's also currently some rumors going around that the upgrade attempts are already counted on your items. I do not have those information confirmed, but if this is the case, this is up to you and your decision. You're off way better upgrading a couple tries on your current item, so you can already stack the upgrade attempts, for example, to hit the probability that you're actually using, and then wait for the update once it hits, and then you already have this probability, and then you can benefit from the pity system fully without having to do the initial invest to get to your original probability. And this is where they basically get the extra success, the extra tries in to make more money. But as I said, it's not confirmed that it actually is already counting on the items, and it's totally up to you if you want to take the risk already upgrading now, or if you're saying I will wait till the pity system and then I will start my upgrade session. Also, if you're interested, I have saved up 4,000 APROs to plus 20 my jewelry with the pity system to test it. So don't forget to subscribe. It's going to be the most expensive Flyff Universe upgrade video that was ever filmed so far. Now, yeah, we're having a sad thing right there. They added a boss drop distribution that was not thought through at all. It's really, really badly designed. So it's supposed to be a system that engages you to run with people that you may don't know in the dungeons, and then have no trouble with them, like for example scamming your loot, so everyone has the same chances, but they are not encountering any additional information. So in other games, for example, let's keep on this example. It's a mercenary weapon, so only plate and knights could roll on it, could wear it, which means in other games only a knight and a plate could actually roll on the item, and others cannot roll on an item to get it. they actually have to forfeit it because it's for those classes, right? And here we don't have a system like this. So if you're in a random group, there's no reason to actually pass. You will always press need because you have no benefit on passing. And if you're in your pre-made group anyways, then you will most likely pass anyways because you have one person that is designed to sell all the items and then split the loot fairly. So the system is not needed. So the system is not designed to actually solve the problem that is currently around. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's really bad. And I don't know why you would introduce such a system if there's so many games that have already shown how to introduce fair loot distribution systems. And also with like, oh, you have rolled so many times and have never gotten an item, so you have like a higher chance of rolling, so you can actually balance out and not one person being lucky all the time, right? So not thought through at all. And the next part about drop is we learned that the new dungeons are solo or party based, and there is no drop rate increase if you're going with a higher number of players into the dungeon. So you're going into the dungeon and you want to farm like an A card, for example, and if you're doing it with 4 players, you will have to share the value by 4 players, but have the same drop rate as if you would only go in there with 2 players. So yeah, I personally don't understand, because drop rates need to be adjusted based on the amount of players that are actually entering and actually participating, so it's not abusable with like AFK accounts in there. And if you do a system like this, it's a multiplayer game, an MMO. You want to benefit people for communicating, creating guilds, parties, doing stuff together, rather than doing stuff solo. And the game, again, is designed to, for some reason, to give you better benefits doing stuff solo than together. And they already failed this at the party system, where they tried to introduce a system that allowed you actually at the start to gain more experience if you would level at a group, at the stage, at a place with a group, and then later on the spawns were so small and the party range was so small that like those group leveling strategies that were good in theory basically failed again due to their execution of in-game stats like party range. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it feels like they're thinking it through to some point, and then to go like the extra mile to make something that they thought that's actually good and to make it like perfect and really valuable for the players, this step they're always cutting out. And I have no real idea why. Because it's not that hard, because some of them they can just copy from other games. So this right here, yeah, like this is something every private server has. So you can select which card you put out of your piercings. So you can, for example, slot a B card first, and once you get an A card, you can then put in your A card. But how to say it, stuff like this, when every private server has it since 10 years, should be in there at release and not added later. Like that's a quality of life feature that you can do right away. Like, why do you do it so late? Yeah, I don't know. Like, overall, this is probably already the summary a bit in the middle of the video. It feels like we are now not getting an expansion. We are now getting to a point of what the game should have looked like on actual release day. And it's just like a delayed release of the actual game. That's what it feels like to me. For the players that like new skins, there's also a lot more new options, and I think they are designed really well. And supposedly the glow of the new weapons is multiplying with the glows of elements and stuff like this. So for the people that like to glow like a huge ball right there and use all those auras, it's going to be pretty fun, I assume. Then they have also added new mechanics to the game. So monsters have different kind of little buffs, traits similar to the giants that should make the game more harder and interesting. And as long as the system is not like unplayable with like bad ping and posy bugs, or like rubber banding in the new dungeons. I assume it says some of the monsters and bosses, so I assume that like those mechanics are mainly for the new dungeons. They are not saying it specifically, they are using ABETs to showcase it, but yeah, that's what I assume. And I don't want to go in detail on all those things. How to say it? It's similar. Like if you're looking at all those skills, it doesn't really matter if it's like an area attack a giant is doing, or if it's a ABET that explodes once it dies. Like you're just still dodging a animation. So like it's good to have variety. It makes the game look better and especially more modern. But regarding to playstyle, all those new things will be similar, right? Like if you're dodging a spot on the ground that gives minus 50% speed, or if you're dodging a circle on the ground that does damage, doesn't matter, you're dodging it anyways. So yeah, it's good that they added it, but it's not going to change like your personal gameplay a lot. What can change your personal gameplay, depending on how well they added it in dungeons, is those new things right there. So we are having a circle where when you're staying in the middle, the amount of players that are staying in the middle get the damage split between them. So let's say there's 100k damage in the attack, and there's one person with like 90k health, he will not survive. But if there's two persons in there with 90k health, they will both only get 50k damage, and then they can survive this way. I am not sure, like at the moment, it looks like there's no boundary on the outside, right? So depending on how the system works, it might never be worth to actually stay in the middle. You could always dodge outside. So I hope they have encountered this and it's not fair designed, so you actually never need to split the damage. Then the next thing is something that is called buff totems. This is really interesting because this can be a system to prevent AFKing in dungeons, for example, as like a healer that just heals from range and never gets hit by any attacks. So there could be huge AoE attacks in dungeons, and you can only survive them as a damage dealer if you're running into those areas and then receive, for example, a reduction of the incoming damage as showcased right here on the screenshot. So yeah, this can make a real impact in finally getting rid of those AFK dungeons that require nothing but standing there and pressing food or healing with your second ringmaster to complete them. This is a topic I would really like to talk about a lot more, but sadly the patch notes are written so badly that there's almost no important information on those skills to actually talk about in detail. I think I will make a new video about all new class skills as soon as the API is updated, and we will take a look at all the situations where the new skills, for example, are valuable. But we will keep a short summary what the skills are actually doing, because the Knight skill, it actually allows you to do a damage direction onto someone. So if you're, for example, in a PvP situation and you have a build poster running inside trying to assault someone, the Knight could cast his skill on the build poster, and 30% of the damage the build poster would be receiving are instead going to the Knight. And this is pretty valuable. And it all depends now on cooldowns and stuff like this, and cast range, how good it actually is. The Plate is having a new skill that allows you to do a non-target jump. It is similar to a blink pool, but it has one extra addition. If you're able to kill an enemy with this skill, the cooldown is reset and it allows you an additional jump. The additional jump is supposed to be dealing no damage, but you could use it, for example, to go into a group of enemies, kill them, and then jump back out to safety. But it's supposed to be only dealing damage once. That is at least what I was told, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Then the Ringmaster Barrier of Life. While I think this can be pretty valuable in dungeons on blocking like really high hits of new bosses, it's most likely not, like if you're playing versus bad players in PvP, it's useful. If you're playing against good players in PvP, it's not useful because the minus 90% incoming damage is removed no matter of what damage you're taking. So for example, let's say you're looking at an ASOL build poster that is running at you. The Ringmaster can cast it, and then the build poster will see in the buff bar that he casted it, will just do like one auto attack to remove it and then ASOL instead. So I assume this is mainly for PvE and being able to complete the new dungeons. Then from the new skills, we are now probably at the most the most or second most controversial one. This is actually the build poster skill, where they can cast a buff and they are immune to stuns and roots and have increased incoming healing. The downside is they cannot use any skills. But how is the build poster played? They are using one skill every 15 seconds with the ASOL, right? This is currently it. Sometimes they will use Belial Smashing to provide some value to the team or go on a lower health target. But in reality, depending on how long the cooldown is, this is the critical information that is currently missing here. You could go in, you ASOL, you go back to your team to safety, you cast the skill because it's supposed to have a bit longer cast time. And then you're unvulnerable almost, as long as you're in your team, like no one will be able to kill you. And I don't know what to think about this. The downside, why is the build poster good? He can one-shot people in PvP. But what is the downside to a build poster? Once he has the high cooldown off, he is vulnerable and you can attack him. And they reduce his vulnerability in his weak spot while keeping his strength high. And if we're talking about balance in general, build posters are the class that are going to benefit one of the classes that benefits the most from the new cards. Like their scaling is so good that the damage they are getting will be higher than the health that people are getting, which allows them to go a build that gives them even more tankiness even in their damage gear. So this is, I don't know, I can just say it's like really, really stupid. And the cooldown of the skill has to be way, way longer than ASOL. So it's actually balanced out. If it's like lower than ASOL, this skill is fucking ridiculously stupid. Now let's look at the Jester. The Jester is getting an AoE skill. I have already said it in the past. Jesters should not have an AoE skill. I don't know why they actually put it here. I like that the class was the only one that could only be leveled with 1v1 properly. And just not a fan of the AoE skill. I would have much rather liked a skill that would bring more skill level to the class. So more combination. You're an assassin, right? You're supposed to be in Dark Illusion, doing some combinations to deal damage, but giving other players the opportunity to counterplay your combinations if you're not doing them fast enough. And since this already, if you're, for example, in Dark Illusion and you're doing a bomb, you will get out of Dark Illusion, removing your combination potential on this bomb. So depending on how high the damage is, it will either be completely useless in PvP or not. We will have to test this out on day one, and then we will have to check if it's viable or not. Then this is most likely going to be one of the strongest utility skills that are coming up, paired with the Psycheeper. They thought it's a good idea to give a ranger that already has CC and long range a knockdown. Like, we are talking about a knockdown. Knockdowns cannot be holied in Flyff. It is a CC that is going in there for real. You cannot do anything about it, and it's going to be really hard to actually play around it, because they have Dark Illusion and long range, so like this is the perfect setup now for a push into another guild. Like, I don't know how good it is in PvE, but yeah, that's it. And they're saying there's a long cooldown on it. That cooldown better be really, really long, because the value you can get from this skill if you're pushing into an enemy is extremely high. So, like, if they have not designed this with the cooldowns well, this is going to be a fuck up. Like, this means you basically always want to have one ranger down on your team to start to engage on another enemy. Then the Elementor is having the Eye of the Storm, that if you self-cast it, you're putting a wall around yourself, similar to a Psy wall. And this wall then allows people to not get inside. But I was told that the radius of this wall is so small that you can still get hopped from the outside, get attacked by Psycheepers, Elementors, Rangers and stuff like this. So I think the value of this skill is probably the lowest value out of all skills we've talked about. But then we are having the Psycheeper Gravity well. This is actually pretty nice. We've already seen in the new things that there's slow patches able to being applied on the ground, and this skill is doing the same. It is allowing you a non-target big area that creates a circle that slows enemies by a significant amount. I believe the significant amount was like 50%. That was seen in the stream, but that was subject to change. But overall, like, if this is really nice, because you can now cut off like a push of an enemy team by applying this in, and even if you run in there and press the holy, the slow gets instantly reapplied, so you will have to walk outside. So this is a real good spacer that can be used in PvP. Then graphics engine, we're not talking about this. No one is playing Flyff due to the graphics, so it doesn't matter. Let's come to the class balance. So here are some changes that make sense and some changes that are really, really stupid. Berserker no longer blocks casting of other skills, perfectly fine. Berserker now applies -50% skill damage. It's also okay. They increased the base time to 1 minute. Also fine. And 5 seconds, like, this is all, it's all good, right? It's not a big deal. Spirit damage multiplication based on MP now taken before defense subtraction, not after. Also doesn't really matter, because most people use the refresher vault anyways. And if not, you can just, like, if you're having your MP management under control, this change doesn't matter at all. Burst crack animation is now faster. Those are like the low and special hit, those are low level AoEs, so this will not impact the game a lot. Now reduce Dark Illusion base time at max level to 10 seconds. This, I think, is perfectly fine. Makes sense. It's not good that Jesters and Rangers are in Dark Illusion all the time, and they have a lot of preparation rate while in Dark Illusion. In most games, assassins are designed so you can vanish at some point and then you're getting back at it after a slight reposition. But currently Jesters can go into the eye, observe it for a long time to do a move, and I think this is wrong. But it's also wrong to give a huge gap. So like, it's way better to have like only a duration of like 5 seconds of Dark Illusion, but then a cooldown of 10 seconds. So, or like maybe only like 3 seconds of duration. Like, the duration of Dark Illusion should be really short. But the cooldown, when you're actually able to use it, also has to be adjusted. So you're getting this assassin playstyle. Oh, it's a tricky situation. I'm allowed to vanish, reposition myself, and then get added, but not have like 15 seconds of runtime, run around, and picking a fight that favors you only. And yeah, this is something is not well thought through, but it's not a big deal. Like, Dark Illusion needs to be shorter, but it's not favoring a assassin style. Then I've already said it multiple times, Fast Walker should be removed. It makes no sense that some classes have more speed than others, especially when you cannot get any speed advantage based on like the cards you're socketing or anything. So I would remove Fast Worker. Maybe not from PvE, there it doesn't matter too much, but from PvP I would disable the skill for sure. Slightly increase Elemental 1-in-1 skills in scaling. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Rage no longer decreases HP. Block penetration increase. Heart of Fury doesn't matter. You get a damage decrease of 10%. So you're getting a damage decrease of 5%. That makes full stamina knights a bit less useful. But overall, you don't get the HP increase anymore, so you can stat more strength. And you can get to a really high block penetration with the new cards and the crab. So I would say this is not a nerf. This is definitely a buff to one-on-one sword and shield knights in PvP. Like, if they have Grace up, I'm pretty sure they are going to shred you and you can do nothing about it. Then we have something I personally really like, because I hated the playstyle that Ringmasters are just able to run up to someone and just spam Holy Cross on the target, brainless, and get value out of it instead of having to communicate with your team and like doing a hop HC combo with like 3, 2, 1 and then HC hop at the same time, so it's not holyable, stuff like this. So I even think that 2 seconds is still too short. This could also be something like 4 seconds right there. So it's actually something that puts timing effort in, and it's not like a really cheap bait to bait out the holy with a long cooldown. Now this is something I've already said. I think they messed up the balance really hard. Plates are already the by far best performing class in PvE, and they are the worst performing class currently in PvP. So while this change makes sense in PvP, it makes zero sense, no sense at all for PvE. So I have no idea why they are doing general scalings and are not able to do PvE and PvP scalings separately. This looks really dumb, and I have no idea who is in charge of that balance, but that person must be fucking stupid. Like so stupid. Jesus Christ. And then we are having Crossline. It's a Jester skill that currently had a probability of 20% to stun in PvP, was not that useful. Now has 100 probability to stun. And I personally think this is really stupid. This is also, like, why would you implement this? Ranger with Dark Illusion should never have that much CC. Now they gave him like such a strong CC. And now they're also giving Jester an assassin that can go invisible, has 10 seconds time ACC. There's no counterplay to something like this. This is so stupid. I don't know. Do you want to create situations where a good player loses to a bad player just because you provided a situation where there is zero counterplay to a move? This is just frustrating, and it will not create more fun in a long-term perspective. Yeah, then those changes right here. I don't know what to think about this. Like, we talked about Build Poster already, and they are getting another advantage in this patch right here, where Belial Smashing cooldown is actually reduced by almost half. It's 15 seconds currently, and now it's at 7 seconds in PvP. And yeah, not sure what to think about this, because it's giving Build Posters another advantage. Of course, if you're doing the playstyle we have already mentioned, with like not being able to use skills and just playing off your ASOL while staying safe, this is not as valuable because you cannot use them in the cooldown. But on the other hand, if you're like, maybe the skill is bad designed, the cooldowns are too long, then this is giving another huge buff to Build Poster. Then we are having a nerf for the Jester. I don't know why the fuck it says buffed here, because like, if you think about it just a second, it's impossible to argue that this is a buff. So if you're looking at it math-wise, Vital Step was dealing twice the damage at a 60% rate, so, and not at a 50% rate. So on if you're talking about DPS, it's already a nerf. If you're talking about the amount of stamina that people have to stat to be safe versus a Jester, it is also a nerf. So let's say, to calculate it easy, a Jester with a Vital Step of 10k and a hop of 30k means that people would have to have 41k health statted. And now you may have consistent damage, but the amount of HP the people need to have to actually survive your combo is much lower. So they can go and build damage, like build their stats to be able to deal more damage, because they can forfeit for their HP, and they don't have to encounter the probability of dealing the twice as much of the damage, right? So as it is more consistent, it's overall a nerf, and it allows classes to go into more damagey builds, which then unfavors an assassin class that is not as high health as other classes, as an example. So yeah, no clue why it says buffed here. Makes no sense in my opinion. Then, yeah, something about power dices doesn't really matter if it's balanced out what they're saying. Then we're having increased stats on +10 armor sets from 3 to 8. Okay. Favors build posters again the most. So that's like the 4th time that favors build posters the most in this patch. Then we're having something, I don't know who farted in this guy's brain that made this decision, but this is another like balance decision that's so dumb. Like, why would you remove all collision objects from the Guild Siege arena? The arena is already way too small for the amount of players inside. Then, wait, we can skip this one. They also introduced 6 members per guild inside the arena now, so it's even more crowded. You have no objects to play around anymore to block attacks. Like, this just removes skill from a game that already has a low skill level and makes it even easier, or allows you to have no counterplay to certain situations. Objects were so important for counterplay and positioning, and they're removing the strategy, just boom, gone. And then they promised a new Guild Siege arena. There's no new Guild Siege arena, and in the old arena that is too small, they are just adding another member in. Good job. Not thought through at all. But then we also need to give them some credit, because those 3 changes here are well needed and really good. So instead of like having to split people in parties and all this kind of stuff, you now need no parties anymore in in the arena. The only benefit of a party now is making it easier for ringmasters to click people, to use like keyword to anti-CC and stuff like this. But besides this, parties are not used anymore. Cost GT, circle healing and heal rain is casted on guild members and not on party members while inside the Guild Siege arena. Those changes are really good, but the other changes are bad and just show that they have no idea about PvP. Yeah, and the rest is not that important. It's just some minor stuff that is only encountering on a really low amount of players. So yeah, I hope you were able to stick through this almost 1 hour long video, and I would just recommend subscribing to the channel, because this update is going to be something where we have to test a lot. We're still missing a lot of information, so we have to probably wait for the real patch notes, unless they're really, again, written really badly, so not the informations you need are not in the patch notes. Then we will have to do a lot of extensive testing, and I will try to keep you updated on all the tests we are doing, so you have the information in first hand and don't need to invest your time or money to actually test stuff. Cheers, guys.